Funding for this CyberWire podcast is made possible in part by Duo. While remote work has been on the rise for years now, the recent rapid expansion of work-from-home culture presents new security challenges. It's Duo's mission to make application access more secure for organizations of all sizes. Duo's modern access security is designed to safeguard all users, devices, and applications so you can stay focused on what you do best. Give your organization the peace of mind that only complete device visibility can bring. Visit duo.sc/cyberwire to sign up for a free 30-day trial. And we thank Duo for sponsoring our show. An Oxford biology lab has been hacked. A Zoom impersonation phishing campaign afflicts targets in the EU. Senators are disappointed in Amazon's decision not to appear at this week's SolarWinds hearing. NSA advocates adopting zero-trust principles. CISA issues alerts on industrial control systems. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security describes increases to its cybersecurity grant programs. Dinah Davis examines how healthcare is being targeted by ransomware. Our guest is Michael Hamilton from CI Security on the Public Infrastructure Security Cyber Education System. And NIST's draft IoT security standards are still open for comment, but you better act fast. From the CyberWire studios at Data Tribe, I'm Dave Bittner with your CyberWire summary for Friday, February 26, 2021. Oxford University confirmed yesterday that its Division of Structural Biology, a prominent lab working on understanding COVID-19, had been accessed by unauthorized parties. The Division of Structural Biology, familiarly StruBi, is not the Oxford unit that's been working with AstraZeneca on a COVID vaccine. That work has been going on at the Oxford Vaccine Group and Jenner Institute. Instead, StruBi's research has concentrated on understanding the virus's mechanisms of action, more basic research that would certainly usefully inform development of vaccines and other therapies. Forbes says the intruders accessed machines used to prepare biochemical samples. It's unclear what they were after, and the screenshots of the criminals' posts seen by Forbes makes it almost appear that the hackers were counting coup by showing off the access they'd gained. The screenshots seem to show access to control interfaces with an implied ability to control lab equipment pressure gauges. While the screenshots showed more evidence of capability for sabotage than they did signs of stolen data, it seems reasonable to speculate that the threat actor is a criminal group offering stolen biomedical data for sale to nation-state intelligence services. Hold Security provided Forbes with screenshots of sites on which the attackers were seeking to drum up interest in their wares. Oxford has been understandably tight-lipped about the details of the incident, which it's reported to the Information Commissioner's Office. The National Cybersecurity Center has the matter under investigation. Security firm Great Horn has identified a Zoom-based phishing impersonation campaign currently active in the European Union. It's a credential harvesting campaign, and its phishing emails enjoy some success despite their poor idiomatic control of written English. The criminals have taken some care to make their URLs look like the now familiar links legitimate Zoom users have grown accustomed to, and it seems that the look of the URL has been a shiny enough bit of fishbait to get the victims to bite. Of the publicly stated, good government, well-intentioned bits of consensus to emerge from this week's hearings before the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, the one that seems to have assumed the highest profile is the importance of information sharing. It was not only recommended as a means of preventing other similar supply chain attacks, but also introduced in exculpation by SolarWinds, which said it wished it had been afforded sufficient liability protection to enable it to share more without fear of being sued. Microsoft, FireEye, and of course SolarWinds all offered testimony. Amazon declined, and the Wall Street Journal reports that there was some bipartisan disapproval of the company's failure to appear. Amazon was invited to testify, and the senators believed that the company, which wasn't itself compromised but whose cloud infrastructure was used by the threat actors, could have had valuable insights to contribute. Amazon is said to have shared relevant information privately, but the committee thinks a public airing of the circumstances under which the cyber espionage was accomplished could have been valuable. There's no particular suggestion that Amazon was negligent, and indeed several experts have observed that it's effectively impossible to prevent that sort of abuse of a cloud service, but the committee is considering compelling testimony at future hearings. NSA has published a cybersecurity information document that urges cybersecurity professionals to adopt a zero-trust security model. A system engineered according to zero-trust principles can better position them to secure sensitive data, systems, and services. NSA calls out 3 zero-trust guiding principles. First, never trust, always verify. Second, assume breach. And third, verify explicitly. And 4 design principles, which would be define mission outcomes, architect from the inside out, determine who or what needs access to the data, assets, applications, and services to create access control policies, and inspect and log all traffic before acting. Making this work, Fort Meade cautions, will require persistent adherence to the mindset and comparable attention to the model's application. CISA yesterday issued 4 advisories on industrial control systems: ProSoft Technology ICX35, Fatec FV Designer, Perfact Open VPN Client, and Rockwell Automation Logix controllers. Clarity quietly disclosed a cryptographic flaw in the last-mentioned Rockwell PLCs to the manufacturer last year. Now that Rockwell has fixed the vulnerability, Clarity has provided details. An attacker could have discovered a secret cryptographic key used to verify communication between the PLC and its engineering station. This could permit an attacker to mimic a workstation and manipulate manufacturing processes. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has increased grant funding for state and local cybersecurity preparedness programs. DHS Secretary Mayorkas explained, quote, "With today's grant awards, I am also directing additional grant funding to support cybersecurity efforts. As we have seen in recent events, attacks to our cyber networks can have devastating effects. Accordingly, I have required that SHSP and UASI recipients spend at least 7.5% of their grant awards to enhance their cybersecurity posture. With this funding, state and local grant recipients can conduct cybersecurity risk assessments, strengthen their .gov internet domains, improve the cybersecurity of their critical infrastructure, and conduct additional cybersecurity training and planning." End quote. And finally, NIST, the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, has extended its deadline for comments on 4 draft documents that outline a set of Internet of Things security standards. The documents include 3 NIST interagency internal reports, and the 4th is a special publication. So comment if you got them, but don't lollygag and act soon. The newly extended deadline expires today. And now, a word from our sponsor, ExtraHop, securing modern business with cloud-native network detection and response. The massive shift to remote work has turned the reality of work on its head. With cloud and multi-cloud adoption, comprehensive visibility is more important than ever. But in order to protect your business, you need more than unified visibility. You need intelligence response workflows so teams can collaborate easily and act quickly. ExtraHop helps organizations like Wizards of the Coast detect threats up to 95% faster. As John Kreese, senior IT engineer, puts it, quote, "ExtraHop is helping us accelerate cloud adoption by ensuring our workloads are secure." See how it works in the full product demo, free and no forms required, at extrahop.com/cyber. That's extrahop.com/cyber. And we thank ExtraHop for sponsoring our show. Michael Hamilton is founder and CISO of CI Security. He's also the former CISO of the city of Seattle. He joins us today to discuss PISES, the Public Infrastructure Security Cyber Education System.
We perform security monitoring of small local governments at no charge in return for using the data that we collect as real-time curriculum for 5 universities.
So how do you measure success in terms of the small cities and towns that you're serving here? When this information comes back to them, are you seeing it? Is it actionable?
It is. And so they're very appreciative of the fact that they are being brought into the loop. And as I'm looking at tickets right now, I see 1, 2, 3, 4 cities that probably need contact. And I've already contacted a county this morning. A lot of this stuff is false positives and the students are learning. So, we have someone that adjudicates whether or not a customer needs to be contacted and an event escalated. We are telling the customers things about their networks that they don't know. For example, there is one jurisdiction here in Washington State that is really getting pounded by somebody. And so, we've given them instructions on, network blocks, things to check in their own logs, et cetera, et cetera. But to your question, really, the success metric are the people getting hired. Because our intent is to make sure that we have a much stronger bench in our state, Washington State. Colorado will probably be the next one to start up a PISES chapter. We've talked to folks in Texas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina. And in fact, one of the universities that is teaching the PISES curriculum is Alabama A&M, which is one of our historically black colleges and universities. And we are intent on making sure that we do a better job of getting into the rest of the HBCUs and turning brothers and sisters into analysts. And interestingly, just broad vision kind of thing, you don't need to live near the building anymore to work for the company. Mm-hmm. And what we have found is, and what the universities have told us is, when we graduate our students, we really want them to stay in the local economy. Well, this also provides that mechanism because to a great extent, technical roles are able to work remotely. And as we've worked with auditors to design security controls, for the commercial side of the business, right? Because my business, CI Security, we do this commercial monitoring, right? We're set that aside. But we've talked to our auditors and said, hey, if we have the following controls in place, do they have to be in this SOC we spent $100,000 on? They said no. So what this means is, applied more broadly, this is a way to get folks in not only underserved communities in terms of, minority and people of color, but in places where there are no technical jobs in the middle of Kansas. And if that's what your quality of life is as defined by you, knock yourself out, man. Go live there, make, this kind of salary and squirt that into local economy. So in a larger sense, this is one of the tools that we have in the United States of kind of moving the chess pieces around so that everything isn't all concentrated in, the Bay Area and Seattle and,
It really sounds like you're onto a win-win here. Like everybody benefits from this. It's an untapped, I guess these small cities and towns are an area that might be, too small for a lot of companies to want to take the time to
exactly
invest
right.
in supporting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And, and again, they can't afford it,
Right.
But here's the thing. Counties run 911. Only counties run 911. They also do elections, and frankly, there's a lot of IT involved in both of those things. And, the fact that they can't afford the kind of controls that, their larger brethren in some of these larger jurisdictions can, doesn't mean they're any less critical. So, yeah, it is a win-win because the infrastructure protection and, in fact, helping these folks with their networks. I had somebody make a DNS change in their firewall that solved a bunch of problems for them. So, there is value to be gained here. Keeping it free for the small jurisdictions is a real goal. And that's why we have to get to, a sustainable business model here. We just got our nonprofit status, so that will change something. But it's win-win. And as we move into our next objective, which is to making sure that students midway through their scholastic career can go out and intern with the local jurisdictions that we're monitoring, so that they actually get some, boots on the ground experience too. We also want to talk to the American Hospital Association about doing the same thing, potentially getting them interns so that, they're on, especially rural hospitals are on the financial ropes too. They need help. So, this is all about doing public good, but longer term, it's solving this problem that we have in the United States that everybody thinks they want to solve by creating the next new gizmo to sell you. We got to make people. So we're going to make people.
That's Michael Hamilton from CI Security. You can learn more about Pisces at their website, pisces-nw.org. There is a lot more to our interview. Don't forget to go listen to extended versions of this and many other interviews at CyberWire Pro. It's on our website, thecyberwire.com. And now, a word from our sponsor, LookingGlass Cyber. For years, organizations have been working to keep up with threats by deploying new security tools. The result is a complex and inflexible security stack that is ineffective in today's micro-segmented, borderless, and distributed networks. To keep pace with the threats of today and prepare for the future, organizations need flexible protection around their unique network ecosystems. With a software-based approach to unifying your security stack, formerly disjointed tools can communicate with one another to disrupt and distract the adversary without revealing your defenses. With this flexible approach, security teams can easily scale their protection to fit their needs, with one integrated software solution requiring no specialty hardware. Meet CloudShield Eclipse Distributed Active Cyber Defense. Learn more at lookingglasscyber.com. That's lookingglasscyber.com. And we thank Looking Glass Cyber for sponsoring our show. And I'm pleased to be joined once again by Dinah Davis. She is the VP of R&D for Arctic Wolf. Dinah, it is always great to have you back. We are seeing this sort of relentless onslaught of ransomware, and a lot of these folks are focusing on healthcare. I want to touch base with you on that particular element of this. Where do we find ourselves today? What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty intense. October alone saw a 71% increase in ransomware attacks against the healthcare sector in the U.S. So that's pretty intense.
Right. Why healthcare in particular? What puts the big target on their back?
Yeah, so I think, they're a little bit easier to target for a couple reasons. One, they feel like the attackers feel like healthcare is more likely to pay because of the life and death situation that the ransom causes, right? You ransom all those life support machines and they need to get those back up because they're actually looking at, people's lives here. So that's one. Two, they're often running equipment that's older and harder to upgrade, right? Running specialized systems. Right. And historically, hospitals have probably had a low amount of funding for their IT staff and updating things. So their IT team is often stretched thin, and that makes them, a bigger target, right? So that's I think a big reason. And then I think on top of that, with COVID, the hospitals are even more stressed. And like these nasty attackers think this is even a better opportunity. I think it's pretty despicable, but this is what they're doing. Yeah. And then in early November, it was already kind of bad. And then in early November, the FBI issued this warning against more ransomware attacks coming on U.S. hospitals. And so this was like, we were like, oh my gosh, at Arctic Wolf. And so we were able to put in lots of extra monitoring in place for our healthcare people, and helping them to go and upgrade their systems. Like, so really working hard with them to say, okay, patch here, because the most important thing here is that you have the least amount of risk we can handle, and then we will watch for the rest of it. So I guess the big question then becomes, like, how do they prevent this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge attack surface, and as you say, they're serving a critical mission there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, you're in the healthcare industry. What can you do to prevent from being ransomed? So, one, ensure you have good security practices and security training. Remember that for ransomware to get in, you only need one person to click a bad link. So the more training you do, the more you empower your employees to understand what they're doing, the better you're going to be. You should have a security team doing 24/7 monitoring. Whether you're going to build that yourself or you're going to hire it, you really have to be watching all the time. And then, of course, patch, patch all the things.
Right. Well, when you say monitoring, what specifically are we talking about here? What does that mean?
Yeah, so you want to be watching like the network traffic flow coming in and out of your hospitals. You want to monitor. You really want to monitor stuff that's happening on your email software. So, are people adding new accounts? Who's adding it? Are they setting up email forwarding rules? That is a big attack vector right now. Set up an email, compromise somebody's account, set up an email forwarding rule to watch for certain types of messages, and then be able to craft a really nice phishing message back, right? To get money or to install something else, right? So you want to not only monitor your physical network, you want to monitor your cloud network as well, right? So your Office 365, if you have anything running in Amazon or in Google Cloud, all of that kind of stuff, you want to have endpoints installed on your laptops so that we can monitor anything that's happening on those. Any kind of flow traffic, intrusion, places is where you want to be monitoring. Yeah,
it's so critical. It's funny. My colleague Joe Kerrigan is at Johns Hopkins, and of course he's at the university, but they're also famous for having a world-class hospital. And he makes the point often that if security is going to get in the way of a doctor being able to do something they need to do healthcare, security is going to take a back seat to that. And that is appropriate, but it is also a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard, right? You probably, one of the big things that we also, say is have a good backup plan. Okay. So put in as much as you can to try and prevent things from happening, but it's likely something's going to happen. So do you have a good response plan? One, do you have good backup so you can recover really quickly, whether you pay the ransom or not? Two, run through mock scenarios with company leadership so they know what to do when it happens. So what happens if all of your stuff in your hospital, everything goes offline? What are you going to do? If you have a plan for that, you're going to have minimal impact, right? I mean, there'll be impact, but it'll be minimal. Don't be the least secure hospital. Right. I know it's a little bit silly, but it is true. Don't, even if you can only do a few things, do those things, right? It will help you.
I don't have to outrun the bear. I only have to outrun you.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Dinah Davis, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.
Thanks to all of our sponsors for making the CyberWire possible. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. And for professionals and cybersecurity leaders who want to stay abreast of this rapidly evolving field, sign up for CyberWire Pro. It'll save you time and keep you informed. You deserve it, too. Listen for us on your Alexa smart speaker. Be sure to take some time this weekend and check out our episode of Research Saturday. This week, I speak with Moritz Lucas from Intel 471. We're going to be discussing the current state of China's cybercrime underground. That's Research Saturday. Do check it out. The CyberWire podcast is proudly produced in Maryland out of the startup studios of Data Tribe, where they're co-building the next generation of cybersecurity teams and technologies. Our amazing CyberWire team is Elliot Peltzman, Puru Prakash, Kelsey Bond, Tim Nodar, Joe Kerrigan, Carol Terrio, Ben Yellen, Nick Valecki, Gina Johnson, Bennett Moe, Chris Russell, John Petrick, Jennifer Iben, Rick Howard, Peter Kilpie, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next week.